As human beings, we have something called language. It is how we communicate, and we use sentences in that. And some sentences that we say describe the reality around us, and some of them create the reality. For example, if somebody says, I swear, or I promise, or I do. See, these are what the philosopher J.L. Austin calls speech acts, moments where a language doesn't simply reflect the world around us, it actively changes it. Because when somebody says to you, I promise, they're not describing a promise, they're making one. And when somebody says, I love you, they're not reporting a feeling of love, they're defining the relationship, at least from their perspective. And so, because of that, language becomes one of the most powerful tools that we have as Homo sapiens for shaping our reality. Therein lies a problem, because if words can shape our reality, they can also distort it. And at times, they can even replace it. And nowhere in all of our existence as human beings is that more dangerous than when talking about love. Because often in love, there becomes a moment where what's felt and what is said begins to drift apart from one another. It's where the silence starts to speak more loudly. It's where the hesitations start to say something without saying anything. And sometimes the absence of that promise, that absence can become louder than a confirmation. And in that moment, something very specific happens. We don't want the truth, we want certainty. And quite often, they are not the same thing. And that, I believe, is where Sleep Tokens Say That You Will sits. It sits in that fracture. Because this isn't a song about love being formed, it's a song about love being questioned. And on another level, it's about not believing it to be true, but wanting to hear the words anyway. Because the tagline of this whole song is devastating in its simplicity. Won't you say that you will, even if you won't? And in that, kind of everything changes, because now we're not dealing with uncertainty, we're dealing with something way more unsettling, which is the conscious request for a lie. From a philosophical perspective, this is where stuff becomes really interesting, because traditionally truth has always been regarded as sacred. Like Immanuel Kant said, and you've got to be careful how you say that.
No, you can't! Well, there's no need for that.
Kant argued that lying is always morally wrong. The truth is a duty that we have to each other, regardless of the consequence. But human beings and human relationships, we don't work that way. Because in reality, people lie all the time to save other people's feelings, to not necessarily to deceive people always, but sometimes to protect themselves, to protect ourselves. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "We have art in order not to die of the truth." Because from the protagonist's perspective in Say That You Will, the truth is unbearable. It's almost unacceptable that the other person might not stay, that this feeling might not last, and that this quantum pattern, this connection, that actually it's just not real. So I believe that in Say That You Will, the protagonist doesn't ask, tell me what's true. The protagonist is asking, tell me what I need to hear. And if you hadn't have guessed that I'd been reading a bunch of philosophy books while I'd been on vacation, this connects really deeply to the idea of self-deception. Jean-Paul Sartre described something called bad faith, which is the act of knowingly deceiving oneself to avoid an uncomfortable truth. And isn't that exactly what we have here with Say That You Will? Our hero, the protagonist, already knows the answer. They feel the distance. They hear the separation. The silence is louder than possibly anything else they could hear at this point. And yet, they ask anyway. Won't you say that you will, even if you won't? They're not asking for honesty. They're asking for reassurance. And when looking into the deeper kind of context of where we're going towards the end of this album in Sundowning, into the beginning of This Place Will Become Your Tomb, and I will talk about this more once we get to the next song in Sundowning. About maybe is that the end of the album? Is Bloodsport the epilogue at the end of the album? Is actually every Sleep Token song album 10 songs? And do we have an epilogue and a prologue in this accepted trilogy of trauma? But for a moment, it seems that the author, the man behind the mask, the protagonist, the vessel, our hero on their hero's journey, their 3-act journey, they're not asking for honesty. They're asking for something survivable. And that survival instinct is going to become, I think, a very key point towards the end of this album. Well, we're at the end of the album, but particularly towards the beginning of This Place Will Become Your Tomb. And, if you like, in the space between them. And there is also a psychological element to this as well. See, human beings, Homo sapiens, are not truth-seeking creatures. We are comfort-seeking creatures. Loads of studies in cognitive psychology show that people will often choose beliefs. And you know how I feel about belief. But believing in something is a fucking dangerous thing. But we will choose beliefs that offer us less anxiety and more comfort, even if they fly in the face of the evidence presented. And in relationships, whether it be romantic relationships or with friends or with parents, family, in friend groups, safety isn't built on certainty, because certainty, the certainty is relative based on the affirmation that comes from the other people involved. You, as the main character, you need affirmation sometimes. Sometimes we just need to know. But there's knowing, and then there's asking for something that you know is untrue, just so you can have temporary relief. Sometimes we just want to explicitly be told that everything is going to be okay, even if it isn't. And I think this is where Say That You Will rather becomes quietly tragic. Actually, it's not even quietly tragic, because what the protagonist is asking for here is not love. It's kind of like we live in a very performative society now. We have lots of people who want to be perceived as things, particularly on social media. People who will say the right things at the right time, and they will fight the good fight. And often you will find that isn't their moral compass. That isn't actually their gut feeling. They are being performative. We live in a very performative world at the moment. And that is exactly where our hero, our speaker, is coming from at this point. They don't want to know. They're not asking for love. They're asking for the performance of love. They're asking the other person to engage in a shared piece of fiction, because if they don't participate, then everything comes crumbling down, and that's an unbearable weight. It is an unbearable sadness. And here's where I want to talk about the accepted law. And even, me with all of these videos, I always prefix this by saying what I'm saying not only could be, but is most likely a load of bollocks. Because when I really started thinking about this song, I started thinking about the fact that we rather accept that these songs are vessel talking to sleep, a god, right? And that god talks back to sleep, and sometimes they sing, like I believe in Sugar. They developed a taste for you. But let's be honest, in the sacred texts, the interviews that we have between 2017 and 2019, not only have we accepted that sleep somehow has become she, but there's literal like evidence here to the contrary, just to say that what we've accepted as the law is bollocks. What's this from Metal Hammer in 2017? We sculpt, build, and craft these sounds with an aim to deliver the emotional magnitude of his words. Sleep has never been referred to in the feminine. If you want to go to the fucking, I printed them off. I'm that guy. I don't fucking care. And then in 2019, in the November issue of Kerrang, we got this. Vessel is no name. It isn't his name. Vessel is no name. It is merely a descriptive term, one that may indeed be applied to us all. He is no different in this regard, i.e. he is no different to us in this regard. In there it says that these are an offering to sleep, these songs, these tours, this merchandise. Fucking, I know everybody's done with looking at their email and seeing obtain. That maybe we've got this all wrong, that maybe our accepted law is all wrong. This isn't Vessel talking to Sleep. This isn't Sleep talking back. This could all collectively be utter bollocks, because they are a vessel in the same way that we are a vessel. Sleep Token's music is given to us in order for us to be able to interpret it to our own means. And that's where rather I've dived into the Jungian psychology perspective of this. And I believe that a whole bunch of this, if not all of it, is about shadow work. But it also could be about cognitive decline. It could be about dementia. It could be about sundowning. It could be anything. It could be, the thing is, that's the beauty of this. I want to reiterate this today more than ever as we approach the end of sundowning, is that your interpretation isn't wrong and my interpretation isn't wrong, and they may not be quote unquote right either, from where the writer of these songs, the man behind the mask, sat down. That guy, the man behind the mask with the piano, just sat in his underpants writing these songs and giving us this incredible piece of still what I believe is musical theatre. There are characters here. There is a law, but our law, the quote unquote accepted law that so many of us who have YouTube channels or speak on this in social media and in public or forums that you may frequent or whatever, everybody has an interpretation of it. That's the fucking point. What we perceive as potentially love songs may not be love songs. Say That You Will is certainly not a love song. It's not even a song about uncertainty. It's a song about that human contradiction, that we have the desire or a desire to know the truth, and simultaneously we want to be protected from it. Say That You Will lives in that kind of fragile little space between honesty and compassion, or honesty and kindness. In my opinion, it asks a very difficult, a very uncomfortable question that is, I suppose, quite universal. If you ask an uncomfortable question and the answer is a lie, in order to protect the parties involved, while it still exists as a lie, is it also an act of mercy? Anyway, I told you it was going to be a very philosophical opening, so thank you if you managed to fucking sit through that. And I hope that gives you more questions, because I'm not here to give you answers. My interpretation is here to sit alongside your interpretations of this tremendous piece of musical theatre. And the characters may not be the characters. We may have got this all wrong. Like I said, this is why I have them printed off here all the time. The only thing that we have to work off is the interviews. The only thing that came from the mouth of the man behind the mask. And so we have to rather think about where, and again, your interpretation may be different, because a lot of people believe that these songs, even though they come in the order on the album, they may not necessarily be interpreted for the law or applied law that we have in that order. So we've just come out of Sugar. For the benefit of this, I'm going to call them the protagonist and the antagonist. The protagonist, who we often colloquially refer to as Vessel, who is as our hero in this hero's journey, and the antagonist, potentially the god, Sleep, potentially a partner, potentially a relationship, potentially a relationship with a family member. Who fucking knows? But there is a relationship here between, I'm going to call them a protagonist and an antagonist. And in Sugar, I believe that the antagonist, they've said, sugar, I've developed a taste for you now. And that rather leaves our protagonist, our hero, in a vulnerable spot, does it not? If you look at how sundowning has evolved, they got real pissed off in Gods. Our hero got real pissed off. And then there was almost a retaliation. But what I'm fearful of for our hero, if I'm going to look at this from like a script writing perspective, is that if they push too far back, if they push too far, are they going to lose? Essentially, are they going to get cold-shouldered? And unfortunately, the visualizer, when we get to it today, makes me feel that potentially they are. And in fact, I think it's going to get a whole lot worse in This Place Will Become Your Tomb. Anyway, I've spoken enough. Fuck me. Jesus Christ. I'll get on with it. We are actually going to listen to the song, but before we do, we're going to take a quick look at the alchemical symbols that are associated with the visualizer, as we do every time. This is a freeware document. You can find it. It'll be linked in the description below. So let's have a look at the alchemical symbols that have been applied to Say That You Will. So let's take a look at this. Again, this is a freeware document. This is available to everyone. It was a fan created thing. The link will be below, and it's all very well thought out. But also, the author here at times has how do I put this? Absolutely no idea either. So you can interpret it from that which you will. But let's take number one here. They are highlighted, by the way, in green. Those green circles there are what we're talking about immediately over on just above my head here on the left-hand side. Let's get the tricky one out of the way first. This could be two things if it's one of the rotated symbols I mentioned at the start of the document. I'm not even going... Hang on. Emphromaticum. I don't know why I had to roll the R there. An adjective, being or having an odor of burnt organic matter as a result of decomposition at high temperatures. Well, we got some fucking high temperatures in Gods, and then we also got some kind of high temperatures in a slightly different way in sugar. For alchemy, this was usually referring to oil of brick. It's one of the most common emphrematic oils to get, and was obtained by soaking a brick in an oil, such as olive oil, and then extracting it via distillation at extreme temperatures. This had medicinal uses, but more interesting is the fact that it was used as a lubricant for cutting stones and gems. And as we've talked about a lot, we are all on that journey to break down something into beauty, to find that philosopher's stone, certainly in an alchemical sense. The other option is sugar, which I don't really need to explain further. Both of these require the symbol to be rotated 90 degrees if we take it as vertical from the start. Okay. The only option I can find to fit would be populous, and fat is also similar, but yeah. And number two is iron. This is one of the many, many versions for iron, and does have a little bit of stylization. Fuck me. Goodness me, can't read today. But still obvious. You can check back on dark signs for its meaning. I will put a little thing up there for dark signs if you want to go back and check my video, and then you can skip to the bit about or you could just scroll up on the document that you're probably reading. That would be easier, wouldn't it? Fuck me, Glen. Number three, rock salt. In some contexts, the consistency... Oh, goodness me, I haven't got you quite in frame there, have I? In some contexts, the consistency of rock salt, or stagnation, or glass. Each is interesting within the context of the song, so perhaps it's all three. Up to you all. The fourth option here being is there is no extra symbol, and I've just been staring at this shit way too long. You can tell that this article has taken it out of the author. Number four, which is down here. This is just above my head. Number four. There are a multitude of ways to write both night and day. I'm leaning towards that for these based again on context, which would put number five as day. However, I also want to point out that this one could just as easily be Borax, and that we discussed that on Give. Yep, absolutely. Again, I'll put a link to Give up there, or you could just scroll back and have a look yourself. I will make a playlist of all of these Sundowning song analyses in the future as well, once we've completed the album. Check back and Give for the next extra. There could be a symbol for white iron pyrite as well. Right, okay, enough. That's where we're up to. So I think it's time. Let's sit down and let's analyze the visualizer. I always think you should keep a mind to the visualizer. And let's have a listen to this. As always, what I'll do is we'll listen to the song almost in its entirety, although I'll be hit with a million copyright. Yeah, the long dick of copyright will no doubt slap me in my face at some point. And then we'll do a little bit of a music breakdown, and then we'll do a lyrical. And then we'll do a bit of a music breakdown, and then a little bit of the lyrics as well. So, from Sundowning by Sleep Token, this is potentially the penultimate song of the quote-unquote album, or at least in the story, if you're going to include Bloodsport as an epilogue. But if not, we are 3 songs away from concluding this album. This is Say That You Will. I've done a costume change. Don't at me. It's warm.
Is that a word to say my love, or just a gesture in tongues? Well, I live to guess your sorrow, and you live to empty
it sure got cold in this visualizer.
You've got me up in a frenzy again, and I know you're planning to leave it.
Loves a frenzy. Very dramatic. This would be an amazing house track. Just saying. Goobsy.
Is that a glance in your eye? Is that a blade in your palm? Well, I am yours tonight, so will you lay in my arms? You've got me up in a frenzy again. I know you're planning to leave in the end. So say that you will let the impossible and the instinct to kill and circles away. This light is
Still pulses.
till the sweat and blood. Won't you say that you will, even if you won't? Won't you say that you
The heart rate is raising.
the impossible and the instinct to kill and circles away? This light here on mine till the sweat and blood.
Visualize the cuts on the syncopation of the piano. I fucking love this bit. Just pulses around. It's so low. These guitar notes are so low. So there are three things musically that hit me really hard in this, which is the is essentially repeated through the entire track. It never leaves, and we've spoken often about repetition being a form of worship. The in sleep token, quite often that can happen, and then we get it repeated with "You've got me up in a frenzy again. You've got me up in a frenzy again." That repetition that becomes like yearning, but those are, I don't want to say religious aspects, but they are certain in organized religion. When one repeats oneself over and over again, it is an affirmation, as I spoke about in the introduction. We're seeking some sort of confirmation here, and so the fact that that's repeated over and over again, both that lyrical phrase, and we'll get to the lyrics in a moment, but also that repetition of the three note scale that just pretty much goes through the whole song. But one of the other things that struck me, particularly the first time I listened to this, and as I've mentioned on stream on Twitch a few times, that I've never had an 8-string guitar, and I'm only now I've got a decent computer now getting into how to pitch it. I've played everything in my fucking career in E. Everything has just been 6 strings tuned to E, maybe drop D if we were doing something a little bit heavier. But there is a note in this, I suppose you would call it the outro, where it, honestly, it's so low. I almost found it indiscernible as a note. You know, when you're able to like sit at a piano or a guitar and you'd be like, cool, that's a C. I recognize that's a C. Okay, cool. It drops down to such a low note. When I play the song again, obviously we'll stop and we'll talk about it musically and break it down a little bit in a moment. It's so low. It's like guttural, like shaking your bowels low. You know what I mean? So with that said, let's dive into some of the musical themes from Say That You Will. Of course, the visualizer, it's very cold. It's
Is that a word to say my love, or just a gesture in tongues? Well, I live to guess your sorrow, and you live to empty my lungs. You've got me up in
singular voice just to start.
Again, and I know you're planning to leave in the end.
So up to this point, all we have is that pulse, but it's some of the tone is dropped off of it. It's not like a very clear note on a synth and whatever. We've got it's a little bit muted, and so remember where we've just come from, at least in terms of the discography. We've just come from Sugar, where there has been a declaration from we believe the antagonist. Let's just colloquially, although I've kind of almost poo-pooed myself a little bit. Poo-poo. Fuck's sake, Glen. Let's just say, for explanation's sake, that it is Sleep, the antagonist, who is, expressed a very almost like sexually violent God, I've got a taste for you now. I love devouring you in whatever sense that may be. Now we've rather got like a muted kind of bedhead kind of feeling where it's a question. Was that a word you said, my love, or just a gesture in tongues? It feels like there is, as the song progresses musically, we kind of awaken as we move along. It's a little bit muted and a little bit simple, for want of a better term, to start with, and then as it progresses, we get this swell into. Oh, I love those dramatic chords. Goes with the fizz. Still there. we start to get the more trebly aspects, the more top of the range, the swells, and the fizzes, and the top line, and then
Is that a glance in your eye? Is that a blade in your palm? Well, I am yours tonight, so will you lay in my arms?
I do love the beautifully British will that has been left in as well, which kind of adds character to the vocal performance more than it becomes any kind of detraction. But yes, it builds, it swells, and it becomes more open, and even the vocal performance becomes a bit brighter in the second verse as well. It becomes a little bit more purposeful, as if we've awoken from some slumber. I mean, even just with the kind of the visualizer here, perhaps, you know, something's been hibernating, something's been dormant, or something's come to life. But there is always this straight four, just always pulsing underneath. When I said before that this would make a great house track, it would make a great dance track, I still firmly believe that. I think that were you just to add, the bass and the snare at numerous points in this, you could extend this to like an 8-minute fucking dance track. I think it's got, and that's what's quite interesting about it, because as I've mentioned, quite heavy subject matter in the lyrical content, whereas it just pulses. It feels like there is, lots of things pulse. Our heartbeats pulse, other things pulse. Our pulse is integral to us staying alive. And our pulse slows in the cold. When animals hibernate, obviously their pulse it goes down in order to protect their vital organs, whatever. When you're in hibernation, and I don't know, there's like a very small awakening here. It isn't a violent awakening like Sugar was. It feels different.
You've got me up in a frenzy again. I know you're planning to leave in the
It's full of swells. So in the background here, as well as that pulse that we've got through, and we've got the octave lines. So we have a "won't you say that you will" in that bass baritone, and also that very high kind of falsetto line as well. But there's also other harmonies in there. I think it's rather highlighted in the live versions where Aspera step in on like the major thirds and major fifths. There is also harmony, very, very very cleverly mixed into the background here. But we are getting two voices, a high voice and a low voice. On the live recordings, I know that Vessel decides to take the high kind of mixed, I think it's a mixed voice rather than falsetto. But what comes through, I think, here is a balance between the low and the high. And also, I love the visual that it gives me when I close my eyes and listen to this song, where those crashes, they sound like beating a baseball bat against a cooking tray, but they're like explosions. They're like fireworks in the sky, or maybe cracks of lightning. But nothing exists apart from that pulse in 4. They're all syncopated, and they're all like, they if you like, they're kind of catching us unawares to an extent. And we just get a little bit more progression here with just some very, very low mixed kind of kick, snare, just to build up that kind of, that emotional response that, oh, we're going somewhere. And isn't that very kind of an archetype, if you like, of Sleep Token, that we believe that we're going somewhere, and then it's taken away. That's what I mean by it all being taken away. But there's still that. Still there. The guitar is fighting against the beat. And this goes so very low here. Do you know what I mean by that note being almost like indiscernible to the human ear, that it's so low? It's almost atonal. Here comes the repetition. Who's doing bits here? Oh, it's lovely. Such a cultured drum performance. It goes so low. It becomes like uneasy. It rather sits quite nicely as a, I don't want to call it a pop song, but you know what I mean. It has pop sensibilities all over. It's catchy. It's repeatable. It has, you know, earworms in it. But we get to that when that guitar goes so low, it gives me like a physical response of like, oh, you know, you know, like almost like a almost not like a gag, but like, oh, it's so low that I'm searching, like my cognitive reflexes are trying to go, what note? I can't. Is that? It's so low. It becomes complicated, unnerving. That's how it makes me feel when that guitar goes down to that low a note, where I'm like, oh god, that's unnerving. And then we get another little swell, and this will lead us again with the tone kind of rolled off on that synth pulse. Also, I don't know if anybody else can hear this or if this is just YouTube, but I think I've heard this before when I've turned this up really loud when listening to it on Apple Music. Can anybody hear a click? It's almost like it's been mixed so high, or the gain is so close to just clipping. I don't know if you know, like when I have to deal with it all the time because I'm a loud twat. You go into the red when you're mixing something, and it just kind of, it makes a little tick noise, and I can't help but hear it ever so slightly. Maybe it's just YouTube, but it almost has a little click quality to it. Maybe it's just me. And what's very interesting is, of course, it just stops. It just ends. And then the next thing we hear is the haunting piano of Drag Me Under. Listen, we're going to get kicked in the proverbials a bunch of times, particularly in Tomb. But this is one of the first moments where Sleep Token really, in terms of the album construction, we get Sugar, Say That You Will, and then Drag Me Under. Ooh, fuck me. So, as always, we shall dive into the lyrics last. And if you've never watched one of my videos before, sometimes I try and pull these out rather than sitting in musical syntax, rhythm structure, melodic structure. Try and pull them out and just look at them as a monologue, as a protagonist or an antagonist speaking to another member of the cast in this musical theatre production that we know as Sleep Token. So, is that a word you said, my love? Or just a gesture in tongues? So, the first thing out the gate here is a question. Is that a word you said, my love? Now, that could both be attributed to, as we mentioned with the music, like, are we awakening from something? Did we mishear something that has happened before? So, is that, or is that a word? Because a gesture in tongues means speaking. It's meant to be how demons speak. So a gesture in tongues could. Well, I think it has potentially two meanings. Well, it has a multitude of meanings, but these are the two ways I interpret it. A gesture in tongues that one is speaking Aramaic, one is speaking a dead language, or indeed a devilish, a demonic language when you speak in tongues. But also a gesture in tongues. A gesture is a movement, and so that has a kind of physical, almost sexual element to it as well, because a gesture in tongues can go down that route as well. It isn't necessarily attributed to the human voice or to a demonic voice. So is that a word? Is that an actual word? Or is it just a gesture in tongues? Like, can they make their, I don't know, one thinks of a forked tongue. Can they make it dance in a way that, that our protagonist has never seen before, that our hero, or the speaker has never understood before? Well, I live to guess your sorrow, and you live to empty my lungs. Well, it's almost like a self-condemnation that I will, I guess I'll never know. You are so above me that, I live to guess your sorrow, to guess, to never quite know. Again, going back to affirmation, confirmation, to seek something that is going to bring us either the truth or to bring us comfort. Well, I live to guess your sorrow. I spend my days wondering why you are so sad. And one believes then, if these characters are in love with one another, at least from the perspective they're singing, the protagonist is singing to the antagonist. Well, I want to help you. I don't want you to be sorrowful. Well, I live to guess your sorrow, and you live to empty my lungs. Again, interpretations there can be many, but I've taken this in terms of two very pronounced ways. To empty somebody's lungs is to kill them, to have them expire. You live to empty my lungs. But actually, no, there's three ways, really. Because you can also interpret this as it being, well, when you take my breath away. When somebody takes your breath away, oh God, I'm so besotted with you. I'm so in love with you. I'm so in awe of your talent. I'm so in awe of your beauty. Then that takes your breath away. That empties your lungs. But the third way, and I suppose I've only really just started interpreting it in this way, is it's when you scream. You live to empty my lungs. You are so exasperating that I can scream and scream and squeam until I'm thick. But you can scream, you can empty your lungs with words, with just, I'm trying to tell you to the point of screaming. I'm trying to get just over and over again. I can tell you this. I'm just expelling all of this air, all of this to tell you, to let you know something. But you live to empty my lungs. You exist just for me to do that. And you've got me up in a frenzy again. Obviously, suicide frenzy. We've referenced that before. That will be something that we'll discuss at a later date. And I know you're planning to leave in the end. Right. We had a big discussion on Twitch about this. how many times Vessel, or the character, the hero, whatever, let's just colloquially, how many times Vessel knows. How many times he knows. He knows a fuckload, apparently, but yet doesn't seem to grow from it, doesn't seem to... It always seems to be futile, the knowing. And I know, but maybe this time it is correct. You're planning to leave in the end. So you've got me in a frenzy again, and I know you're planning to leave in the end. So when Vessel asks, the character asks, won't you say that you will? They already know it's a futile thing, that I know you're planning to leave in the end. Or rather, they presume that they're going to leave in the end. And this is something I think that's very beautiful and a wonderful use of the English language of the course of this chorus is, won't you say that you will? I've mentioned in previous videos that using the negative connotation at the beginning of the line when you're asking something from somebody else, won't you? Won't you? There is a level of pleading to that. It is, won't you? It's not, will you say that you will? I realise that that's not an attractive line either in terms of syntax. But won't you? Won't you? Isn't that more? Like my shoulders went down when I said it. Won't you say that you will? And if we were going to run this all the way through, again, let's take the musical syntax out of it. Won't you say that you will let the impulse to love and the instinct to kill entangle to one? Let's look at that as just one sentence. Won't you say that you will? Let's ignore the question mark. Let's imagine that we're putting the question mark at the end of here, at the end of to one. Won't you say that you will let as in, and not let your, what we're essentially saying is let your impulse to love and your instincts to kill entangle to one. The coming together of two parts to make a whole. Because to kill something and to love something are not polar opposites, but they are quite in opposition. You would very rarely want to kill something you love. Therefore, won't you say that you will let the impulse to love, your impulse to love and the instinct to kill entangle to one. Let it come together. Again, going back, if we want to go that way, all we need to do is turn it that way, and then it's shadow work. It is Jungian psychology. It is the idea that we take the darkness and the light, accept the darkness in order for us to come together to become an essential self, or in this case, maybe a whole, or if we're going to go down Plato's Symposium or the origin of love, the two parts coming together to create the original love. In this light, you are mine. We're going to get to mine a little bit more, obviously, in Tomb. I don't like that. But we've had a conversation on Twitch about that already, and I understand now a lot more why people find mine so passionate. In this light, you are mine. Till the sweat turns to blood. Just like in the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus knew that he was going to be taken by the soldiers. He knew that he was going to be crucified. He asked God one last time, please don't do this to me. And God sent down an angel to pray with him, and he sweat until it turned to blood. It was an act of betrayal from Judas. One attributes Gethsemane ultimately to the idea of betrayal. In this light, you are mine. Till I am betrayed, till the sweat turns to blood. So, in brackets, not there in the lyrics, won't you say that you will? Won't you say that you will, even if you won't? Just offer me comfort. Give me, I will drink this cup of poison. And then, as we go on, is that a glint in your eye? Glint in your eye, something that would there's something there. A glint in somebody's eye often leads slightly to the idea of deception as well. Is that a glint in your eye? Is that a blade in your palm? Not a blade in your hand, not with your fingers wrapped around it and your thumb protruding. Is that a blade in your palm? That rather alludes to it being hidden. Is that is that a glint in your eye? Is that a blade? Are you going to fucking betray me? Like, there is a level, a kind of, I'm being a little bit, facetious maybe there, but there is a level of betrayal there with that as well. Well, even if you are going to betray me, even if you are going to hurt me, well, I am yours tonight. So, maybe one last time, will you lay in my arms? You've got me up in a frenzy again. I know you're planning to leave in the end. It is a beautifully sad piece of writing here. And won't you say that you will? Let the impulse to love and the instinct to kill entangle to one. Entanglement, quantum entanglement as well. The idea that they are so intrinsically linked together, these two characters, the protagonist and the antagonist in this, the hero and the lover, the whatever way you want to take the spin on it, even just down to a very human level. The man behind the mask and whoever he happens to be in love with, whatever it is. Won't you say that you will? At the impulse to love and the instinct to kill entangle to one. Entanglement. He's been tangled in branches. There's ideas of and motifs of quantum entanglement, where you literally no matter where you are in the universe, something happens there. It has to happen here. That's a very common theme in Sleep Token as well. Till the sweat turns to blood. When you say that you will, even if you won't. And then we get the repetition at the end of you've got me up in a frenzy again. You've got me up in a frenzy again. One could be perhaps a little bit, I would say, vulgar, maybe, but you've got me up. You've made something rise. You've got me. Whoa, you've got me excited. Something has awoken in me. Something has come up. There's obviously there's allusions to that as well with the choice of phrasing, but it's the idea of a frenzy. A frenzy is when you are out of control. You've got me up in a frenzy. I've lost control. I am potentially so besotted, or I'm so in. I'm so. This is so all encompassing for me that I can't control myself. It's interesting because we're about to be up in a frenzy and then be dragged under, literally in Drag Me Under, the next song that we will analyze in Sundowning. I know. Fucking what a tremendous band. I love sitting here and talking to you guys about this. And again, remember, everything I say could be absolute bollocks. It could be all shit. But from the holy texts, the interviews, I think it is rather up for us to interpret, and I do hope that my interpretations sit beside yours and can help maybe with understanding it a little bit better, or maybe even just sometimes throw a spanner in the works where you're like, oh, I never fucking thought of that. Because in the comments, and please do, I'd love to hear your interpretations in the comments below as well. I keep forgetting I'm on YouTube. I just get really excited about talking to this and forget where I am. So yes, something I never say, if you'd like to give the video a like, if you'd like to pop a comment in based on your interpretation of the song, if you'd like to subscribe, there's a thing there and there's a bell. I don't have my bell on for anyone, so I don't expect you to put it on for me, but you're a free range human. You can literally do what the fuck you want. I'm not your mum, but if I was, I would say click like and subscribe. Probably. And also, on screen now are all of my members on Ko-fi. Now, if you really want to fucking support me, goodness me, these guys keep me going every single day. On screen now are all of my supporters, my members, rather, on Ko-fi, who just keep me going. We have a fantastic members-only Discord there as well, which grows every single day. People get, you get early access to the videos. You get exclusive videos, like behind-the-scenes stuff of my life with going on tour and working on for the Premier League and fucking all that shit, and even just stuff with like Artie and Lauren and my day-to-day life as well. But it wouldn't be possible. I wouldn't be able to spend the time researching this if it wasn't for the support that you guys gave me. So I'm eternally grateful to you. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for just supporting me on Ko-fi. It really does mean the fucking world. And of course, we're on Twitch all the time as well. As I mentioned, it'll be down here probably. If you want to come and follow on Twitch, we get extra wanky. As if this wasn't wanky enough, we get extra wanky about music and art and all sorts of shit. And there's gardening streams and not like that, like real gardening. I do like growing shit. Not shit, although it's good fertilizer, isn't it? And there's merchandise, and there's more merchandise. There's new designs coming out next week as well. If you would like to be a part of the University of Glencadia, if you would like to be a free-range human or wear empathy is power on your body, as I do all the time, as he is right now. Puppet Glen's got one on. I haven't. I'm wearing a Sleep Token t-shirt backwards. And I know the camera's backwards. You don't need to comment that. It's because I hate my teeth. It's literally just vanity. That's it. The only reason why the camera's backwards. I'm sorry if it annoys you, but my vanity is more important to me. So sorry. Also, if you'd like to check out mine and Lauren's company, the Puppet Workshop as well, I'll probably put a thing here. I haven't made anything for that yet, though. So there'll be more from him. Let's not fucking talk about that right now. But he's definitely going to be making an appearance on Twitch and TikTok and whatever. And you can find me on all sorts of social media, all that shit. But yeah, we're getting to what potentially could be the final song of Sundowning, depending on your interpretation, depending if you look, as the three albums, Sundowning, This Place Will Become Your Tomb, and Take Me Back to Eden, as potentially having prologues and epilogues, and maybe they are 10 songs in the album. But it's going to get a bit dark next with Drag Me Under. But we shall try and find the light in the darkness. And as always, I will try and bring some kind of philosophical, psychological, scientific, historical context to it as well. Thank you so much to everybody who says such kind things about these videos. I really do appreciate it. I know they're long as well. And I appreciate all of you who stick around for all of them as well. Thank you for growing my YouTube page. Thank you for making my life more fulfilled, just better, for having you guys in it and having the facility to be able to talk about such a wonderful musical theatre production that is Sleep Token the musical, as I will continue to have my opinions that it is. So have a lovely week, folks. I shall be back with Drag Me Under, and I shall see you for the next one.